let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever caught yourself reacting in a way that made you stop and think, Lord, I still have some growing to do? Maybe it was in traffic. Maybe it was during a stressful moment at home. Maybe it was when someone spoke to you in a way that rubbed you the wrong way. Those moments have a way of revealing what is really happening inside of us. Not because we're terrible people, but because God often uses everyday situations to shape something deeper in our hearts. Welcome back to Makin Macon, Encouragement in Chaos. I'm Susan Rayner, pastor's wife, homeschool mom, baker, blogger, and someone who is learning right alongside you that walking with God is a lifelong process. So in our last episode, we talked about being faithful in the small things. And today, I want to build on that idea because faithfulness and character are closely connected. Faithfulness is often what God sees on the outside, but character is what God is shaping on the inside. And many times the two actually grow together. One of the clearest pictures of Christian character in Scripture is found in Galatians 5:22 through 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temperance. Notice something very important here. It does not say the fruits of the Spirit. It says the fruit, singular, of the Spirit. That means these qualities grow together as the Spirit works in our lives. Love begins shaping how we treat people. Peace steadies our hearts when life feels chaotic. Patience grows when situation stretches. And Lord help me, that's the one area I have a problem with. And self-control develops when our emotions want to take the lead. These things don't appear overnight. They grow, and growth takes time. Jesus actually gives us a really clear picture of this in Luke chapter 6. In verses 43 and 44, he explains that a good tree produces good fruit, and a corrupt tree produces corrupt fruit. In other words, the fruit always reveals the condition of the tree. Then we go to verse 45, and he takes it one step deeper. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good. For of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaketh. Jesus said something very similar in Matthew 15 and 18. But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. In other words, what lives in our heart eventually comes out of our mouth. And that's a little scary. I've had people actually say to me before, "Oh, I didn't mean to say that." And my response, I try to make it as gentle as possible, but sometimes it doesn't always come out very gentle, is, well, it was probably in there somewhere. Because when pressure hits, what's inside of us tends to come to the surface. And that's why Scripture repeatedly tells us to guard our hearts and our minds. If our hearts are filled with frustration, bitterness, or pride, those things will eventually come out in our words and reactions. But if we allow the Lord to work in our hearts, filling them with His Word, His peace, and His perspective, then those are the things that begin to come out instead. And that is where character really begins to take shape. It isn't just about controlling our words. It's about allowing God to shape what lives inside our hearts so that our words and actions reflect Him. Those are the places where character quietly grows. One of the things I've learned over the years is that God is not only concerned about what we do for Him, He is deeply concerned about where we are becoming, or who we are becoming, I should say, while we walk with Him. Because our character determines how we carry the things God entrusts to us. But it also becomes a testimony to the people around us. Our character speaks long before we even open our mouths about our faith. When we are out in the world, at work, in the grocery store, in conversations with neighbors or friends, the way we respond, the way we treat people, and the way we carry ourselves says something about the God we serve. And I never want to be someone that people look at and say, she's a Christian? And then they see more of the world in me than they see of Christ. Because that's what the word Christian really means, is to be Christ-like. And none of us live that perfectly. But as God works on our hearts, our character begins to reflect him more and more. And that quiet example can speak volumes to the next person who is watching how we live. And sometimes those small moments of Christ-like character are the very thing God uses to draw someone else closer to him. But every one of those moments is part of our spiritual growth. So, what does building Christian character actually look like in everyday life? Most of the time, it shows up in moments that don't feel spiritual at all. It may be choosing patience when someone is short with you. It may be responding kindly when your first reaction would have been frustration. It may be catching yourself before speaking and asking the Lord to help you answer the right way. These are the places where character is practiced. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. A consistent walk with God makes a difference in those moments. Time in prayer softens our hearts. Time in Scripture helps guide our thinking. And when we stay connected to the Lord, it becomes easier to pause, breathe, and respond the way Christ would instead of reacting in the moment. None of us get this perfect, but growth happens when we keep returning to the Lord and allowing him to keep working on our hearts. Little by little, day by day, God continues shaping who we are. If you feel like God has been working on your heart lately, that's actually a really good thing. It means he cares about the direction of your life, the direction your life is heading. Character is not building in one big, huge moment. It grows slowly through everyday choices. And the beautiful part is this: God is patient with the process. He doesn't expect instant perfection. He simply asks us to keep walking with him, keep learning, and keep allowing him to shape our hearts. And over time, those small moments of growth begin to reflect something beautiful, a life that increasingly looks like Christ. If this episode encouraged you today, I would love for you to share it with a friend who might need this same reminder. Be sure to follow the podcast and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. New episodes of Makin Macon Encouragement and Chaos release every other week. And if you're looking for more encouragement throughout the week, you can always visit makinmacon.com, where you'll find blog posts, recipes, and faith-filled encouragement. You can also sign up for the Stay Rooted email and receive weekly encouragement straight to your inbox. Now, I'm getting off of here because we have a storm that has been rolling in, if you didn't hear it in the background, and I am going to take a breather. So remember, I'm always praying for you, even if I don't know who you are. God bless.